Hi everybody, hope everybody's well. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about color blending. Now, there are two previous videos which I did in the early part of when the Flower Pro Ultimate Members Club was formed. One of them which is on dusting flowers, and then one which went through to general coloring. Now, since then, bringing out the measuring mold and some of the other things like my dusting powder range as well, this has enabled me to sort of be a little bit more specific about coloring. And so I'm going to talk about some sort of upgraded techniques for coloring paste and especially for flower making. So let's get started. So in episode 19, I showed how to do dusting coloring techniques, mainly with dusting powders, obviously to dust your flowers, and how to mix the dusting powders, adding cornstarch and things. And also in episode 28, I obviously went through color theory. So I actually sort of talked about different brands of color and how violet can be very, very different from brand to brand. So this is just as obviously expansion because later on we introduced the measuring mold for air drying clay, but I'm just going to explain about obviously converting that to paste, as a lot of you ask questions about particular colors like eucalyptus and colors like that, about achieving those colors. Also, of course, there is a video which goes on how to use the measuring mold, and so you can find that, and obviously the fundamentals of air drying clay, but there is the measuring mold video which go into more detail. And most of you probably have watched that video. So obviously with the measuring mold, the chart that comes in the measuring mold, and also this is a download, so if you don't have one of these you can download it, or if you lost this you could obviously download it. Remember, this does come in the packaging, so make sure you don't throw it away as some of our members have. So obviously this goes through the ombre colors, and as I said on the video I show how to create that, but the basics of it is this is the base colors of the Hearty air drying clay that Katy Sue sell. So there's black, brown, magenta, red, orange, yellow, green, dark green, and blue. So these are the base colors, all right? So these go through the colors here, the black, the brown, the dark green, the red, magenta, orange, yellow, and blue. So if you're wanting to use this for sugar, for air drying clay, obviously with like air drying clay, but if you wanted to use the same formulas in your sugar, in your Tylo's gum paste, flour paste, petal paste, flexi paste, you have the option, of course, of coloring to match these colors. All right, now it doesn't have to be exact, but the thing is, remember the intensity, like the ombre colors. So if your magenta is a little bit lighter, it would just mean through the board all of the colors will become a little bit lighter. But if you try and match to those colors, then that means you can use the same formulas, not only for your ombre, but also particularly for the greens, like the eucalyptus, the Dusty Miller color, which you'll be using for blue spruce, and then some of the other darker colors as well, and the limey greens. So this is a sort of really, really good way to mix this, and of course also going through to purples and dark reds and burgundy. So you use exactly the same formula, except instead of using the air drying clay, you're just going to be using a number 1 of white, and then whatever colors you're going to use of your color. Now, with most companies, a lot of companies have various colors of flour paste, all right? In the UK, this is the black, all right? So, for example, Renshaw have a Dahlia black. Now, we don't have that in the US, but I have a new black floral paste and flexi paste coming out in this color, all right? And of course, alternatively, if you don't have a sort of a pre-colored flour paste, gum paste, flexi paste, alternatively, you can just use paste or gel color or powder color. All right, because sometimes powder color is going to give you a more intense color. And remember, the advantage of doing powder color is the powder color doesn't change the consistency as a lot of gel would be. So for example, when I colored the brown, this brown here, using, for example, Pro Gels or Americolor gels, it just wouldn't go dark enough. So what I did is I used my chocolate brown dust and the chocolate brown dust, I used that with a 3-to-1 ratio. Now these will be on your download. So I did 3 parts of the brown to 1 part of black, all right? And so, because when I look at colors, of course, I've had a lot of experience with coloring things and having to work with clients where you're trying to match to a fabric. So, you know, generally I can look at a color and have an idea what it's going to use to achieve that. Now, in some of the other previous coloring, we've talked about the, obviously, color wheel, and this will help you as well, understanding, you know, like, I mean, of course, if you add red to orange, and again, sort of the sort of pumpkin color, you know, and this goes through, obviously showing you different colors, adding the primary colors. And so coloring wheels, you know, these again are very useful to use to have an idea about where you're going to get coloring from. But remember, coloring wheels are made for obviously printing and also for using things like acrylic paints and things like that. And sometimes they're going to be a different color to paste colors or gel colors. But so when you're coloring, you know, either look at what you have as far as like, you know, a paste color, a gel color, or for example, a dusting powder, okay? Because you might have a dusting powder is going to give you exactly the right color. And but as I said, remember also dusting powders they don't change the obviously consistency of the paste. And I'm going to show you how I use those. How I use mixing dusting powders in a moment. But anyway, so I used, so this is black. Now that's pretty much a standard color. And again, you can get black powder or you can use, of course, black gel color. But remember, when you're making flowers, sometimes if you start adding a lot of liquid, like a lot of gel, it's going to change the consistency like it would for fondant as well. Now magenta, my flexi paste, the pink, the peony pink, that gives me pretty much a spot on color. All right, so peony pink is going to match the magenta air drying clay. Red, I'm using poppy red, but also, for example, Renshaw have a red in the UK. I think it's called Carnation Red, and we have the red US one as well. So this is the red Renshaw paste. And so I can match that color with pre-colored. And quite honestly, just like using colored fondant, pre-colored fondant or sugar paste, the advantage of buying it already done, it saves you a lot of time. And then we have orange, I have yellow. Again, those are pre-colored. These are actually some new flexi paste and floral paste in yellow and orange. So I have the orange and the yellow. These are new flexi paste, but again, Renshaw have yellow. Now there's lots and lots of companies that do pre-colored sugar paste and obviously also petal paste or flower paste, gum paste, you know. So for example, in the UK, Squire's Kitchen, they do pre-colored, obviously petal paste, gum paste, flower paste. Also, you know, Satin Ice have pre-colored gum paste. Now, of course, some of the pre-colored gum paste is not going to be as intense. Like, for example, the Renshaw pink that we have in the US is more of a pale pink. It's very much like about that sort of color, that sort of shade out of the pack. So that really is not strong enough to use as a pigment, which you're going to then add white to. So, you know, some brands are going to have more intense colors, but these really saturated colors, the nice thing about these is when you add them to white to make a paler version. Now the green, I just used a standard leaf green. All right, so this is just a, you know, standard leaf green, like for most brands of leaf green are going to be pretty much the same. And now dark green, this is a new flexi paste, flora paste in a holly green, but it's not quite dark enough. So again, I can see from here, because this is more of a military green, so it has some black in it, all right? So again, what I've done there is I've used 2 parts of green, holly green. And again, there are other brands, you know, like Renshaw have a darker green, also Squire's Kitchen in the UK. And so you'd use 2 parts of the green, a dark sort of holly green color, and 1 part black. All right, so I just combine green and black paste, but of course, when you do that, you can use a digital scale. So you can use a digital scale. This is, remember, the high precision scale we've talked about before. So you could do that in grams. So you could do like 20 grams of holly green and 10 grams of black pre-colored paste, or you could just take 10 grams of white and color it black and then add that to 20 grams of holly green, or however much you need. So, you know, and then of course also you can use the measuring mold. All right, so the thing is also I could use this measuring mold, the largest size here, which is more accurate than the size guide as far as when you feel this level, it's going to be exactly the same, whereas size guide might vary a little bit. but I could do 2 number 1s of dark green, like a holly green, and then 1 number 1 of black and combine them together. And then the last color here is blue, and I match this to the air drying clay. So you can see those colors are pretty much spot on, and had to play around a little bit with those. And what I did there is I used a 2-to-1. So I used the royal blue. So I used 2 parts royal blue and then 1 part navy blue. So not sure where my navy blue gone. It's gone. But the navy blue is again Rainbow Dust brand. There's lots of different companies do navy blue. So a 2-to-1 royal blue and navy blue. So these will be in the downloads, and this just gives you an idea. But if you don't have pre-colored paste, you just need to sort of make the colors as close as possible to these first colors, which are original, which are the colors, the base colors of the air drying clay. And then of course, then you can take your formula and use your formula. So if you're going to be making the eucalyptus sage color, you need a number 1 of white, number 5 of dark green, and number 9 of blue. So you would just take a number 1 of white and then a number 5 of dark green, and then a number 9 of the blue. And of course, you just need to have if this pre-colored, but if you're going to be using a lot of colors, you can make up a sort of 100 gram or 50 gram of this base color, and then just keep that at hand. So that is using, as I said, recreating the colors that we have in air drying clay and sugar. And this will enable you to make a lot of the colors to match what I've done in the classes and lessons and episodes, you know, so the burgundies, the purples. So when we made the dahlia, for example, using like the sort of some of the colors, the burgundies with an amount of white in there. So you can of course change the color saturation. And of course, if it's too dark, you just add white to that. But remember also keep a log, you know, keeping a little book or on your phone about when you color in, you know, what formula you use. But remember, as I said, you can use your digital scale or use your measuring mold. This works really, really well to give a very accurate, if you're doing a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio, you can use this. So next I'm going to talk about using the mixing up some colors. So when you're using powder colors, because sometimes powder colors are going to give you a different shade, and as I explained in the first segment, when I tried to match the brown to the color of the Hearty air drying clay brown, the dark brown, using a gel color just didn't give me a sort of a dark enough color. So I found like brown powder worked much better. And remember also the powder doesn't change the consistency. Now, for example, this is the color of the year. This is the 2022 color of the year, which is called Very Peri, obviously periwinkle. And so see, this is going to give you me an exact match. So sometimes you might have dusting powders that are going to give you a better match to your color than gel or paste colors. Now, of course, dusting powders, this can be used in royal icing. So if you're going to be doing, for example, 2022, this will be a very popular color for weddings. So if you were going to be doing some flooded royal icing cookies, you can use powder color to color royal icing. And of course, you can also use powder colors to color, for example, paste, gum paste, flour paste, flexi paste. Now, when you're using powders, usually remember powders, which you talked about in one of the earlier episodes, they're water and fat soluble. Okay, so powder colors can be diluted with water or made, as I said, a liquid product, or also fat. All right, so various vegetable shortening, vegetable fat. As I said, that is the best thing to use because again, you're not changing the consistency. So usually I take just a little bit of powder, a little bit of the shortening. I'm going to put it on my glove here, and I'm just going to mix it through. You can do this on the table as well, but often I would use it. You see what I'm going to do is, so the actual vegetable fat, this could be coconut oil, this could be, you know, Trex White Flora, this can be Crisco. But you see how you're going to, you just dissolve some of that. And then we take this into your, so you're taking this into your white paste. And I'm just going to mix this through. Now, of course, this is going to give me a dark color. This is flexi paste, so this is going to give me a dark periwinkle color. But you see, this is going to give me my base color. And then once you've got your base color, you can take your gloves off. And of course you could then take some white. So this is darker. And of course this is, as I said, a little bit darker than actually but you see it's pretty much close, spot on as far as the color goes. But if you were using this for delphiniums or flowers, or you wanted a little bit lighter, of course you could do this with your, so I can try, for example, like a 1:1. Remember, this is the digital scale. Remember, this is a high precision scale, which we talked about in some episodes before. But so you, for example, you can go right down. I mean, you can go to like a 1. See, it's 0.7 of a gram, and then 0.8. So that's 1 gram. Okay, and that's the sort of usually the smallest I would use. And then I will take, for example, 1 gram of the periwinkle base. Now, of course, the only thing is you need to remember, if you make up a base color, you can, of course, use scaled weight, so you could scale the dust-in powder, but usually you just sort of make enough of your base color to use. So I've got a gram of each. All right, so that means it's a 1:1 ratio. And then you see I can put this and then feed this through. Now, of course, also we've discussed about light stability. You know, sometimes colors will fade a little bit. So usually what I would do a lot of time with color is I would take this color. You see this pretty much, as I said, gives me my color. All right, and so you can take this color, so that was a good color. If, for example, it was again too dark, you could go another one, you could do a 2:1 ratio. So you could do 2 grams of white, or again, using the measuring mold, you could use like one of the sizes, like a number 1 or a smaller version, and that will be exactly the same. So if you don't have a digital scale, you can use that. And of course, make sure you keep this base color. And that sort of is the way we would use, for example, the dust-in powder. So powder colors can be used for royal icing. Now, when you put the powder in royal icing, you don't have to dissolve it, because obviously the royal icing is a softer consistency, and you're just going to put that into the royal icing. But that is how we use dust-in powders or powder colors. And of course, as I said, the brown was a really good color. But also when you do colors like black and red, the advantage of using a powder color is it's not going to change the consistency like a gel color will. Now remember, in each of the Flower Pro volumes, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I obviously have some information about the coloring. And of course, book number 4, the coloring mold, the measuring mold, came out before the launch of book 4, so we obviously focused on that in there as well. But this talks a lot about you know, using the different gel colors, and of course with especially like the winter foliage mold, I used a lot of as I said, natural greens, and I referenced color, and these are actually 2 of my very favorite colors I use. These are Wilton brands, so they're available worldwide, but this color especially, the juniper green, this gives a very nice gray-green color. And this is the color I use for the juniper in book number 4 with the winter foliage mold. You see, so that gives you that lovely gray-green sort of sagey color, and that's perfect for like juniper. Now, for example, this past weekend I had this class here, so I used this for the juniper, which is up here. All right, so this is the juniper leaves up here, a nice gray-green color. And you see I've also used the juniper with adding some turquoise color for the blue spruce. So when I made the blue spruce, what I did is just use the juniper, and then I just added some of the Pro Gel turquoise, or you could use like an aqua color, you could use a teal color. Again, there's many different brands, but the colors are fairly similar. But I've just added some, and you see add in then some of the turquoise color to that, has changed the color and give me that sort of blue spruce color. So sometimes it's just a question of trying things out and seeing what works best. But my general advice is always, you know, to use your high precision scale or use your measuring mold, because that's going to be a very accurate way. And once you calculated the formula, then you of course can then reproduce that time and time again, and just keep that information recorded somewhere, and you'll be able to use that to reproduce color. But of course, a lot of times when we do a project, as long as you have enough for that project, it doesn't matter when the next time you do a slightly different color, but you'll have a little bit of an idea about where you're going with that. But so in the books, you know, so that was in book 4, and of course in book 1 and in book 3, 2 and 3, again it sort of relates to the colors. So of course in this in the book here, I talked about using the eucalyptus sage. So I've talked about then use like forget-me-not blue, and then of course Pro Gel, and the Pro Gel gray. Pro Gel have a gray gel color. This is really nice because again that's going to sort of tone down your greens, and it's going to give a really nice obviously natural color to anything that's a little bit bright. But then you're going to, but you can use of course also the different greens. And you see, like in the US, we have an FDA compliant range of Pro Gels. So this is turquoise. In the UK, the range is a lot larger. They have a sea green, which is almost a greeny blue color. It's almost in between a green and a blue. That's a really nice color as well to use for a lot of the foliage. So really it's just a question of like trying what you have and make a dark base color and then add that to the white. And that's got, of course, got all of your colors in here as well. Now, again, I have talked about this briefly before, but, you know, then there's also many companies. This is a download from Renshaw. This is a fondant download, but the thing is, this can also be used for when you're doing flower paste, petal paste, gum paste as well. And it sort of shows you the colors. Again, these darker colors, obviously the circles there, that is showing the actual color. So the orange, the red, the pink, the green, bright green, the colors that we have. And then again, you know, see, like obviously here, talking about red, you know, sort of you do 20 to 1, that would mean that you would do like 20 grams of red and then 1 gram of blue. You're going to get that lovely color there. If you use 20 grams of red, 20 parts red, 1 part of black, you're going to get this sort of more of a burgundy color. So these can work very well as well. So many of these companies, fondant companies, have this type of download. And although these are designed for sugar paste or rolled fondant, these work really, really well for also flower paste and petal paste and even royal icing. Because if you wanted to make, for example, like an emerald green color for say like St. Patrick's Day there, you then just use that as your guide, you see? And so you can use your 20 to 1. And so again, you will color your royal icing, for example, to that color, and also a little bit of royal icing to that color, and then mix the two together. And then of course you will get this lovely color. Okay, so these can be used for royal icing on cookies, and the purples and aqua colors as well. And then also remember ivory, you know, this is something again when we make sugar flowers. If you want a sort of a baby color or a softer color, let's say yellow, or you want a softer color on pink or a softer color on blue for roses or forget-me-nots or flowers like that. If you actually color your flower paste, petal paste, flexi paste a cream color, all right, so make a cream color, which we've done in quite a few projects in the club, and then you add your pink or your blue or your yellow to it, it's going to give you a much softer, it won't be as like acidic, like on a color like yellow. If I do a baby shower cake, I would use a little bit of ivory or a little bit of cream, and then add my yellow to that, and that's going to give you a softer color. So when we're sometimes matching for flowers, you know, we're sometimes wanting a sort of softer color of a pink or a blue or yellow. If you actually put a little bit of the cream color or ivory in, and then you add the yellow, pink or blue, that is going to give a softer color. So coloring, blending colors is something that obviously some of you might have a problem with, but it's just a question of getting out all of your paste colors, gel colors, your dusting powders, and then just seeing what the sort of the shade you're looking for. Because remember, you could use a eucalyptus dusting powder instead of using like a blue, a gray, green colors mixed together. So really a lot of it is going to depend on what you have, all right? And also, as I say, using color wheel, but also using a more of a mathematical approach to it. Using your measuring mold is a little bit more accurate than the size guide, because when we measure on the size guide, it could vary a little tiny bit when you make a regular size. But the measuring mold, when you fill it level, use the flexi scraper, it's going to mean every time you're going to get a consistent size. So use that. Remember things like I've shown you, using dusting powders or powder colors instead of gel paste colors. It's not going to make your paste as saturated and sticky for when you're making certain flowers. Also, of course, matching your air drying clay colors like I started off with in the beginning, that's a great way of being able to match all those ombre colors in the chart and also the customized colors as well. So until next time, sweet wishes, see you soon.